As with any categorization of things, there will always be outliers and some that don't fully fit in, however have been compiled together because of one common denominator. Film genre is no exception to this. Jojo Rabbit, Saving Private Ryan, and 1917 are entirely different films, visually and narratively, however follow one simple theme: war. Differing perspectives, characters, and most importantly cinematography do not change the fact that the context of these films portray incredibly similar events in history, yet masterfully change how the respective audiences digest them. There are three key cinematographic elements to film: camera, design, and lighting, each aiding in the construction of the visual story. Focusing on design, we move to the comedy Jojo Rabbit, directed by Taika Waititi with cinematography by Mihai Malime Jr., released in late 2019. Jojo Rabbit is a unique twist on the war genre, being a comedy which follows a young boy who becomes obsessed with Nazis, so much so he has an imaginary friend, Adolf. Waititi has said in interviews that his main issue with modern depictions of war films is that they are always so drab and washed out, when in reality, particularly in Germany during the 1940s, the interior design and architecture was incredibly colourful and experimental, an element he was sure to reflect in his film.
May we come in? Thank you so much. Heil Hitler.
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 This particular sequence was broken down by Waititi and Stephen Merchant for Vanity Fair, where they highlighted some of the origins for comedy within the sequence and the film as a whole. However, this is not the only juxtaposition from content to context for this film. The visual art style and lighting are hugely important as well. The majority of the sets are lit with large washes of high-key light, allowing all of the vibrant colours to pop and stand out. Overall, the film is hugely saturated with colour, unlike other films in the genre. Waititi said himself it was metaphorical of the facade Nazi Germany had put up during the war, a friendly face up front with horrors and atrocities hidden behind it. This is also hinted at throughout the sequence as different characters and parts of the set are obscured by objects or other people. This is clearly seen when Jojo first opens the door for the Gestapo. He is periodically hidden behind the men as they enter the house, albeit momentarily, conveying immediate power dynamic between the group and the boy. My favourite shot from this sequence is that of Stephen Merchant and Sam Rockwell. Merchant is approximately 6'7" and Rockwell 5'7", so there is an immediate and very jarring height difference between the two. However, Malame asks Merchant to stand on a box, raising him even higher so he towers over Rockwell, giving an intimidating but also goofy image of the man, while also creating an incredibly clear-cut power dynamic. This scene encapsulates, for me, the ingenious way that Waititi and Malame are able to use cinematography to a comedic advantage, and also how they are able to take something otherwise intensely disturbing and scary and twist it to be one of the funniest scenes in the entire film. If you're even remotely familiar with the film 1917, directed by Sam Mendes with Oscar-winning cinematography by Roger Deakins, you will also know Deakins took on the challenge to have this entire feature-length film give the illusion that it's a single shot. Of course it isn't, as that would be impossible, but watching the film, you would be hard-pushed to find any of the cuts, as they are seamlessly edited together. With many films, the camera poses as a window into the verisimilitude, unintrusive and often unseen. However, this film pushes the camera's movement and motivation to the foreground, highlighting and celebrating the shot development. The scene playing currently is when the main character Schofield is running through a German-occupied town, flames and smoke engulfing the scene, contrasting the deep blue skies and black silhouetted buildings. Shot development and motivation is highly important in this film, and of any film which has extremely long takes. The cinematographer has to keep the shot interesting. This is one way that Deakins has done it masterfully. There is minimal change in the shot type, as it merely tracking Schofield as he runs through the town, but there are obstacles such as debris littering the set alongside the flames and smoke that can distract the viewer's eyes and allow the scene to be broken up. Towards the end of this short sequence, we see Schofield jump into a river. The pace immediately changes, which is another innovative way that Deakins has managed to alter the development continually, moving from one high adrenaline-fueled chase scene to a juxtaposing sequence of Schofield floating down a stream, playing with the audience's emotional response and ultimately engaging them with the story far more than they would if there were some overarching crane or drone shots. On the topic of immersion, we move to the 1998 film Saving Private Ryan, directed by Steven Spielberg with cinematography by Janusz Kaminski. Saving Private Ryan has been widely renowned as one of the most realistic depictions of the Second World War ever put to film, with many survivors refusing or walking out of viewings. Through careful shot planning, realistic colour grading, and immaculate sound design, this scene immerses the audience in the action and puts them alongside the soldiers, which in my opinion are the precise reasons it has been held so highly for over 20 years. Lighting is one of the most important things to consider when creating the mood of a scene. Controlling shadows and light levels can transform a scene's tone in a second. The opening of this sequence shows the soldiers loaded onto a landing craft approaching the beach. They are swamped in large shadows, obscuring most of their faces, disconnecting the audience from the soldiers' identities, aligning them with the ideology that these are merely pawns used as cannon fodder. Juxtaposing the grade is the natural three-point light flooding the scene moving forward as the soldiers land. The overall landscape feels incredibly raw and grounded in reality. There is no sunny skies or lush green grass. All that surrounds them is the cold fog of war, shown by the overcast skies filled with clouds. Every so often there will be a shocking muzzle flash from a gun or an explosion, throwing in pops of colour here and there, breaking up the composition and distracting the viewer's focus momentarily. The camera is also masterfully manned to do this as well. The shaky handheld shot type once more makes you as a viewer feel connected to the ground as if you are watching the events directly from the beach. It reacts to the explosions and rumbles of gunfire. While there is an obvious focus on Tom Hanks' character, there are multiple narratives transpiring. Here we see a man searching for his arm that has been blown off. Ordinarily there would be a shot reaction shot of the audience and focusing on the horrors, but instead Kaminski opted to look past this. The soldiers would have seen horrors no one should ever have to endure, and they had to look past these and focus on the bigger picture in order to survive. Therefore, the camera and the audience must too. Films and art of any kind cannot be confined to strict black and white guidelines of what can and can't be. The beauty of film is that it is fully interpretive. Your reading may be completely different to mine or anyone else's. Clearly that is the case with these three films. They all took on the same subject, war, but through different perspectives, different views and twists on each genre, the cinematographer was able to utilize the camera to craft a unique visual story.